to the Short Horror Beercast. This is Sam Harris. Today, I'm speaking with Jordan Peterson. We talk about Twilight Zone, Richard Matheson. But first, all right, I can't keep that.
Well, I didn't know how to do Jordan Peterson. So
okay. You just have to do Kermit the Frog. Sounds like Kermit the Frog, yeah. But anyway, this is the Short Horror Beercast, and I'm not Sam Harris. I'm Paul Lorello. And who are you?
Alec Chambers.
Good to see you.
Hey, buddy.
So today we're covering Dance of the Dead by the incomparable Richard Matheson. I've been waiting to get to a Richard Matheson story. But first, they call this the Beercast. And they call it the Beercast for a reason. It's because we pair beer with the horror stories that we cover. So I would like to know what you got in your beaker over there for to go with Dance of the Dead by Richard Matheson.
Well, I'm going to say it again. This was a tough one.
Yeah.
I did come out on top, I think. It's called Three Floyds Brewing.
Oh, I know Three Floyds. Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. They're cool.
Well, this one is called Zombie Dust. Undead Pale Ale.
Nice.
Yeah. And if it didn't quasi match the story, I would never glance at this beer twice in the box. Like, just because I didn't care for the packaging.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm like, Zombie Dust.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to drink Zombie Dust.
Right.
You know, I don't know.
Right.
But, you know, for the sake of the show, I got it.
Okay.
And I opened it, and I've already had one.
Right.
And it's one of the best beers I've had.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, it's really good.
Can't judge a beer by its cover.
You really can't, or name.
Your name, right? Sure.
Right. So it says on the can, this intensely hopped and gushing undead pale ale will be one's only respite after the zombie apocalypse.
Okay.
Created with our marvelous friends in the comic industry. Art by Tim Seeley. So no offense, Tim. It's just not my thing.
Okay.
There's a very cool drawing on the can, but the font is very splashy, bloody, paint strokey.
Sure.
You know, whatever.
Okay.
The can is bright red, and it's, you know, like probably Ichor green in your mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just kind of gaudy and whatever. And
okay.
I'm no purist. I'm no, you know, whatever the word is, I can't think of it because I've had one already. But, you know, I'm no like, ew, it doesn't look good, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic beer. Excellent. It's a nice kind of a hazy looking gold, kind of a copper color.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Damn, is it good.
Nice.
It's right on the can. It's not normal.
Okay.
So there you go.
It's great.
And it's 6.5 ABV.
Perfect. And I love pale ales. That's like a great.
This one, man, you've got to try it.
Okay.
It's super good.
I have to.
Everyone out there, try it. And never mind what I said about the artwork, because that was cruel and unusual.
God damn it, why are you such a snob?
So how about you? What'd you do?
Okay. The brewery is called False Hope, and and the beer is called Negative Outlook.
Oh my God!
So,
dude, that's fantastic.
That works for me, and it's got the weirdest looking. It's like a post-apocalyptic scene where these like mutant bugs are taking over. It looks like, you know, the artwork is actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
you know, it's a very dystopian looking scene here.
Sure.
And here's what it says. I mean, I guess we're learning about this with the craft beers and their cans and their artwork and stuff.
Yeah. They
all like to put these little things on there that just make you go like, what? So on the side of the can, it's printed very small print. It says, "We live under the thumbs of insatiable monsters. They exploit our success, manipulate our reality, and prey upon our insecurities. They will burn everything to the ground to convince us that the more we give, the more we will prosper. Now get back to work."
Holy shit.
Isn't that cool?
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've never heard of False Hope, but now I have to try more of their stuff because it's, you know, they've convinced me that they're good people.
Yeah, that sounds right and proper to me.
So there we have it.
Have you tried it?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, it's a double IPA, and it is wonderful. It's a very good double IPA. Opaque as the day is long.
Yeah.
And the day is long. It's wonderful. It looks like a glass of grapefruit juice. It's really solid. So it's like that other one that I had,
That's good.
Yes,
Nice work.
Yes. So I bid you cheers.
Cheers.
Alrighty, let's talk a little bit about Richard Matheson. So he was born on February 20th, 1926 in Allendale, New Jersey. His parents divorced when he was 8, and so after that, he moved with his mother to the garden spot of the world, Brooklyn, USA.
Nice.
His first professional sale was in 1950 when our man was sprightly 24 years old, son of a bitch, and it appeared that year in the summer issue of the magazine of fantasy and science fiction. The magazine was not even a year old. I'm holding that issue right in my hand right now, the summer of 1950, with Richard Matheson's first story, Born of Man and Woman. Yes, it's in my nice crinkly protective covering. But,
nice.
It's very cool. I was very happy to get that.
That's awesome.
So anyway, that story was called Born of Man and Woman. It's a great story and notably was spoofed by The Simpsons.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, with the episode was one of the Halloween episodes when they keep Bart's evil twin locked up in the attic. Hugo. That's right. So,
Born of Man and Woman?
Born of Man and Woman. It's narrated by this creature that's being kept in the cellar or something like that. And he's chained up and they throw him scraps and stuff like that. It's his first person narration. It's very cool.
That's awesome.
After he made that sale, he began selling stories like crazy. Everybody wanted a Richard Matheson story. Eventually, he caught the attention of Rod Serling, for whom he wrote some of the most memorable Twilight Zone episodes. Everybody thinks that, Rod Serling wrote all of them. Rod Serling wrote about 60 or 70% of them. The others were farmed out to other guys, notably our good friend Charles Beaumont and Richard Matheson. They did the majority of the non-Serling work. There were other guys too, but they did all the memorable stuff. Matheson's episodes include Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, which is the Shatner episode when he's on the plane with the gremlin. Nick of Time, which is the other Shatner episode where he's feeding coins into the machine that predicts the future.
Yeah.
Little Girl Lost, also parodied by The Simpsons in another Halloween episode when Homer steps into the third dimension. The Invaders, that's the one with the woman who's being attacked by the tiny little aliens in her house in a little cabin.
Yeah.
So
lighting the fires.
Yeah. So this guy had such an incredible imagination. He's no longer with us, but man, he was some kind of a fertile mind this guy had.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's get into the list of his books that were made into films. He wrote novels too. In 1954, he published the novel I Am Legend. Great film. Sorry. Great novel, terrible film.
Yeah, that's more like it. I was like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah. One of my favorite books, actually, of all time.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't it vampires in the book and not modified people?
Right. It's actually vampires and traditional vampires. And the whole story is this one guy trying to survive through this. Not only is he trying to survive, but he's using up his free time trying to figure out what makes these things tick so he can defeat them once and for all. So he's going into a lot of the physiology of vampires and like, why does garlic offend them? How are they like killed by a stake in the heart and stuff like that? And he's offering a lot of really cool science-based answers to these questions. It's very cool.
Because I'll forget later, I have to interrupt and ask now.
Sure.
Do you know what the story is with fucking garlic?
No, I don't actually. I should know this. I mean, it goes back a ways. There's a lot of plants and herbs and stuff that have, these mystical properties to them that go back a ways. I know juniper is one. Juniper is, I think in the Bible, juniper is mentioned a couple of times.
Yeah, that's why gin is a holy drink.
Yeah, right. It is. Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I guess they were just attaching properties to these things, but I don't know what the garlic thing is. It's a really good question, but
it's interesting.
Yeah,
because if it had been onions, I could get on board with that.
Right.
Like I must be part vampire.
Right. Yeah. No. So it's a good question. I should know this. I'm a little ashamed that I don't know the origin of that.
We'll cut that out and we'll talk about it next time.
Okay, you got it. So yeah, ignore that Will Smith Crime Against Humanity and read the book.
Yeah. Wasn't there a film in the early 70s too? With
the Omega Man. Yeah. The Omega Man with Charlton Heston.
Yeah.
There was actually an earlier one. There's an Italian low budget film starring Vincent Price called The Last Man on Earth. And that was closer to the novel.
Okay.
Yeah. I like that film. It's just got a little certain appeal to me. I love Vincent Price. So
sure.
It's got this cool low budget 50s aesthetic that I really dig. They're not that great films. Both of those aren't that great.
I tried watching Omega Man when I was younger, and I was like, boring.
Yeah, right. It never really got to me. Like I said, I've never seen the whole thing, but what I've seen, I was like, meh.
All I've ever heard is how good that fucking book is, though.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. It's really good. Anyway, I won't hype it up anymore. He's the good one. So anyway, after I Am Legend, 2 years later, he wrote The Shrinking Man, which was made into The Incredible Shrinking Man. That's a pretty cool movie, actually.
That is a good one.
Yeah. 2 years after that, he wrote A Stir of Echoes, made into a so-so movie.
The Kevin Bacon movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was, it's all right.
The book must be good.
The book is actually really good. I like it a lot. But,
it's usually the case.
Yeah. Yeah. For the most part, I would say so, sure. I'm not one of these guys that's like, oh, the book is definitely better. It's not better all the time. Sometimes
not all the time.
And sometimes you can make a movie that's so different, like The Shining.
Yeah, The Shining is a great example of better film than story.
Yeah, I mean, I do like The Shining. The book is actually really good. It's just unfilmable as it is in the book. You can't do it. I mean, it's, he's tried. There was that awful.
Oh, I can't even. That fucking kid.
Yeah, right.
With the hair and the teeth.
With the hair and the teeth. That's all you need to say. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
That little brick.
Fuck, I was hoping he'd get greased, that kid. I was rooting for the hotel.
I kind of like Steven Weber, too, but he just was wrong for that.
Yeah, the whole thing was wrong.
Yeah.
They tried to at least do the best part of that book, in my opinion, are those hedge animals.
Yeah.
Was a great scene in the book.
Great scene in the book, and they did do it pretty well, yeah. I like the chick in the bathtub, too. They did a pretty good job of that one, too. That was sufficiently creepy.
I vaguely remember that part.
When I first saw The Shining and saw that scene, that one really affected me. And in the book, it's nasty. And of course, in the remake, it's pretty nasty, too, sufficiently so. And to this day, I always peek into the shower whenever I go to the bathroom, just in case she's waiting for me there. It's usually a cat.
Yeah. It depends on which version of her.
Right. Yeah, that's true. True. In 1971, he wrote Hell House, and that was made into The Legend of Hell House.
It's endless.
Yes. The Legend of Hell House is a great film. That's with Roddy McDowall.
It's excellent. Yeah, I love it.
In 1975, he wrote a book called Bid Time Return, which was made into Somewhere in Time. I want to say it was 1980 because it was Christopher Reeve right after Superman, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, so Somewhere in Time.
I think they shot a lot of that in Traverse City, Michigan, too.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know that.
I think so.
Very cool. So if that isn't enough, in between all these, this guy wrote screenplays for Roger Corman, pairing up a couple of times with our friend and his, Charles Beaumont. He wrote dozens of teleplays and TV movies. He did a version of Dracula made for TV with Jack Palance.
Excellent.
It's pretty cool. He wrote episodes of The Night Stalker. I mean, he was everywhere.
Man.
Just one of those very lucky writers that always had work to sell,
Yeah.
Dance of the Dead was first published in Star Science Fiction Stories #3, and this was in 1955. It was an anthology edited by Frederick Pohl. It's been anthologized a bunch of times since. Even though you can technically classify the story as science fiction, particularly dystopian science fiction, that's my opinion that it can easily fit into the horror slot. I think you'll probably agree with that.
Yeah.
So there.
This guy's an animal.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Dance of the Dead by Richard Matheson. We open not with a setting or a scene, but a song.
I wanna ride with my roto-motor honey by my side. As we whiz along the highway, we will hug and snuggle and we'll have a little struggle.
We follow this with a dictionary definition that Matheson prints out for us. Struggle, noun, act of promiscuous love play, usage evolved during World War III. Okay, great. Bang us in the head with this craziness. He starts off with these crazy song lyrics, and then we don't know where we are, so he tells us we are post-World War III.
Yeah.
And gives us a dictionary definition right in the middle of that. Just breaks the fourth wall. Here's the dictionary definition of struggle.
It's crazy.
Okay? Really cool way of just slamming you with, here's time and place and setting. Now we're off. So right away, we know this one's going to be sweaty, slangy, and post-apocalyptically horny. That's a thing with dystopias. People going sexually crazy.
That is weird.
Right? You get that a lot. Ellison wrote a Boy and His Dog. It was pretty central to the plot of that. Anyway, So we're speeding along Route 10 in St. Louis. Is it St. Louis or St. Louis?
It depends on if you live there or you don't.
Oh, okay.
I think it's St. Louis to people who live there and St. Louis to people who think they're cute.
Okay.
Jen used to live in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, so
Okay.
she would go up to St. Louis pretty often.
Okay. I'm going to call it St. Louis.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to err on the side of I don't care. No, that's so horrible. I shouldn't say that. No, I do care, but I'm going to say St. Louis because I've been saying St. Louis all my life.
Yeah.
So we're speeding along Route 10 in St. Louis in a Rotor Motors convertible Model C 1997. So this is Richard Matheson's 1997. By the way, I Am Legend takes place in 1976. He wrote that in 1954. And it says, This is Cold War paranoia for you. Everybody thought that the world was going to end like sometime within their lifetime, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So we're riding along here with 4 college kids, Len, Bud, Barbara, and Peggy. Len is with Barbara, Bud is with Peggy, and Bud, it seems, is at the wheel of the car, speeding along. Before we continue, we need to talk a little bit about Matheson's style and use of language here. He's got these words are loaded into a machine gun that he's just spraying without mercy at the reader.
Yeah.
It's like Bud at the wheel, blah, 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 da, 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 da. You know, this is the way the prose is going. It's like a frenetic pace the story's going at, you know. So here's what we get. Back seat joining front seat, quote, hey, Frosh, have a muscle tussle, end quote. Parentheses, needle passed forward, eye bulb quivering amber juice, close parentheses. Quote, live it, girl. Okay, so it's like all this rapid fire delivery peppered with this futuristic slang. The purpose is not to condition us to this future, it's to shock us into it, okay?
Yeah.
It's disorienting and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So the purpose beyond storytelling is to induce a feeling of literary motion sickness.
That's great.
Yeah. So after that little exchange I just gave, Matheson helpfully gives us another dictionary definition. Muscle tussle, noun, slang for the result of injecting a drug into a muscle. Usage evolved during World War III.
It's such a crazy thing.
So there's a bit more of this going on, and you know we start to see where it's going. We realize Peggy, Bud's girl, is the frosh, meaning she's the new girl, the outsider, the virgin, if you will. Mm-hmm. Peggy, of course, is us. You know, she's just as uncomfortable as we are hearing all this stuff. And also, Bud's trying to grope her this entire time.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
No, not at all. Not at all. Matheson says, underneath her yellow dress, underneath her sheer stocking, flesh crawled. Yeah, so get right into her head. And,
she's not having it.
Yeah, she's not comfortable at all. So from here on, we're going to be in Peggy's head, obviously. Mm-hmm. She's got her mother's words echoing throughout her brain, telling her to choose her friends carefully and so forth. Mm-hmm. They decide to go, quote, see the Loopies dance. So what can they mean by that? They start hyping it up to Peggy. You got to see the Loopies dance. You haven't lived until you've seen the Loopies dance. And I said, look, Matheson does peer pressure really well here. Mm-hmm. It's like, the thing with peer pressure is not so much, if I do this, I'll get along with everybody. It's like, I'm so uncomfortable right now. It's like now doing it is now less uncomfortable than not doing it.
If I go through with this thing, maybe I can get out of this faster.
Yes, exactly. So it's really cool. And he's really capturing that really well in Peggy's head here.
Yeah.
So now Bud does what we can only assume is a really bad Popeye impression. Mm-hmm. He's taking courses in pre-war cartoons. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, and he's starting to say, like, he's calling Peggy olive oil. And it's like his 3 friends, or I should say his 2 friends, not including Peggy, indulge him in the bit of back and forth Popeye dialogue. The other guy's doing wimpy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's thoroughly annoying. Yeah. It's like these people are just not cool. You just never want to hang out with these people. It's obviously done on purpose. We're meant to feel how uncomfortable Peggy is here, being groped by this asshole who's doing bad Popeye impressions. As they approach St. Louis, Bud calls out, on with the nosies. And what does he mean by that? Well, Matheson tells us in the form of what appears to be a PSA that ran during this time. The PSA is this: ants in your pants would be a pity, wear your nosies in the city. And he follows that with the dictionary definition: ants, which is spelled A-N-C-E, noun, slang for anti-civilian germs, usage evolved during World War III. We're now fully in dystopian country here. Okay, so it's like, okay, St. Louis is teeming with some weird friggin' bioweapon fallout.
Yeah.
And they have to wear stuff to protect themselves against that. We get more Peggy's mom in her head. Remember, darling, there are terrible things in the world today, things you must avoid. So she tries in vain to suggest going somewhere else, but Bud just spews more Popeye at her. And she thinks to herself now, in response to hearing about Loopies and all that stuff, she thinks to herself, Dance of the Dead. And the sign up ahead reads St. Louis, and Matheson says, the black car sped into the ruins. So there we have a hell of an opening there.
That's good.
Yeah. So we know everything we need to know. St. Louis is in ruins. We are post-apocalyptic. There's fallout everywhere. It's just nasty, and we're now traveling with three assholes.
Yeah.
So we arrive at the club, and Matheson starts off with, it was a place of smoke and blatant joys. Have you ever played gigs in a place like that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure. All right.
I did a gig without venturing too far off track. I was 20 years old. I couldn't even drink in bars yet.
Okay.
And I was playing a club in North Dakota.
Yeah.
This band I was in had some fucked up booking agency, sent us to the craziest fucking places. And it sent us out in the middle of fuck all in North Dakota at this redneck crazy roadhouse in the middle of a mining town.
Was it like
Holy
the Blues,
shit, dude.
the Blues
it was
Brothers?
exactly like the Blues Brothers, because we pull in there and we're like, oh fuck, you know. We set up our stuff on a stage that was covered in chicken wire on the front. It was exactly like the fucking
The Blues Brothers. That's great. I love it.
And we're like, this can't be good. It's not just for laughs, I don't think. I think
Right.
use this shit. So we get in there and we're playing In Excess, and you know, we're playing all these covers of like, you know, new wave shit. These big fucking bearded, beer bellied miner dudes with like red ore all over their boots, just cracking red ore all over the floor. They come in, they're like, what the fuck? You know, they're pissed off. They started singing Bud Bottles at the fucking wire. They're not playing. They're like, shut the fuck up. They're screaming, you suck. Get the fuck out of here. One guy's like shaking the wire. And the singer at the time was kind of like a lunatic, and he said, hey, you know, don't fuck with us. You know, I don't go to where your wife works and jump up and down on the bed and shit.
Yeah, I know. That's
all
you
these
want.
old, you know, zingers.
And that's what you want, is a front man who goes rogue like that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, nah, dude, that's funny if you're in East Lansing, Michigan, at the college bars. We're not there.
Right.
You know, take it easy. These guys might kill us. You know, I'm having little hunks of glass Bud bottles hanging off my cymbals and shit. I'm like, oh my God.
That's great.
Anyway, so we started playing, you know, The Doors and some classic rock, and they kind of got into the spirit of things. And at the end of it, everyone was fine.
Right.
But we got the fuck out of there just the same.
I
In
can
case anybody had too much loudmouth soup or whatever. So we just bailed. But yeah, it was awful. I have played those gigs.
Okay.
It was a good experience because I couldn't even drink there.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah.
And I was kind of I was like, what's happening?
You can only get spray from the bottles.
I was very green.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a big deal.
So it was a place of smoke and blatant joys, is what you're telling me.
That's exactly what it was. Yep.
Very cool. Very funny. That's good stuff.
That was nuts.
So, I love when in the Blues Brothers, it's like they're flinging bottles, and when they actually start to like them, they're flinging more bottles.
Yeah, that means you're really good. That did not happen to us, happily, because I think one guy got a cut on his face. Like, nothing bad, just a little nick, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is not cool, man.
Yeah, right,
This is not fucking cool.
Theme from the TV show Rise. Thank you.
All right, so we digress.
Yeah. Drink.
Yes. So there's music playing in this bar full of smoke and blatant joys. Matheson says it's 1997 music, a frenzy of twisted dissonances. And that sounds about right for 1997. What was that, like Janet Jackson? Or
97?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what was big in 1997. Was it... I'm gonna Google
yeah, I
it.
guess so.
Yeah.
Janet Jackson, Madonna.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah.
You know, the dance crew with the song, you know.
Yeah. Backstreet Boys, I think.
Maybe, yeah, that kind of stuff.
So a frenzy of twisted dissonances. That tracks. So they meander their way through the club, and it's just the most uncomfortable thing ever. We see it all from Peggy's point of view. It's dark, it's smoke-filled, the music is loud, it's lascivious, and it's gross. They're just singing about all, like, primal lusts and stuff like that. And she feels everyone in the room is not only disrobing her with their eyes, but abusing her with them as well. Which I think is a great little touch.
Yeah.
Horrific little touch.
Yeah.
But great nonetheless. So they managed to get seats right in front of the stage. The stage itself is semicircular, about 5 yards deep, and it's surrounded by a waist-high rail. It's not chicken wire.
Yeah.
It's a waist-high rail.
They're very different.
Yeah. The waiter comes by. They order whiskey waters. I don't know what that is, but it's hyphenated whiskey water. So like whiskey with water, maybe? Who knows?
Gotta be.
Yeah. But they also order a couple of green swamps for the girls. Okay. Matheson gives us the recipe. It's gin, Invasion Blood, which is a 1997 rum, lime juice, sugar, mint spray, and splintered ice. Then he says it's a popular college girl drink. And it sounds pretty awesome.
It sounds kind of good. I don't know about Invasion Blood rum.
Yeah.
I gotta know exactly what's in that.
Well, like I can see like a good white rum. You're mixing it with gin, lime juice, sugar,
or
mint
there's
spray.
blood in there because who knows what happened.
Invasion Blood. That's true. I wasn't even thinking about that. You're right.
Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, it sounds delicious.
It sounds pretty awesome. So, and all this is after Peggy tries to order a ginger ale. And then she's got her mother's voice in her head admonishing her to never drink on a date. Bud asks her how she likes the club. He says, loopy, ain't it? And now Matheson gives us another dictionary definition. Loopy. My voice cracked on it.
That was good. That was Peter Brady.
Loopy. Adjective, common alteration of L-U-P. That's all he gives us. Okay, so what the hell is he talking about? Well, I have a feeling we're going to find out soon.
Yeah.
So Peggy's repeating the word in her head, and Matheson says the word scalpeled at her mind. Beautiful turn of phrase right there.
That is.
Another eyeball kick.
Yeah.
This story's full of those. They get their drinks, and each of them takes turns offering part of a toast. It says, to lust primordial, Bud toasted. To beds intemperate, Len added. To flesh insensate, Barbara added. They look at Peggy for the fourth, and she goes, to us. And they're like, yeah, whatever. And I think Bud says something like, yeah, real original.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and she drinks, she nearly chokes to death. And we've all been there. I have a story about that to digress once again. I'm going to take a sip of beer and hope it doesn't happen again. So my cousin goes all over the place. And sampling cigars and stuff, and it's a lifestyle magazine, so there's all the stuff that goes with it, primarily cigars, but he gets like whiskeys and scotches and stuff like that.
Nice.
So what's really cool is that every so often he'll come by and bring a bottle or something. It's really cool, or bring samples. He gets these samples. One day he comes and he brings a sample of a scotch that is, I think it's 30 years old. Okay. Yeah, and it was obviously like a limited batch, so it's a super rare. It's one of these things that you bid on at auction, Yeah. He had a little sample of it, and he said like a full bottle of this will go for about like $5,000, So
yeah, for sure. 30-year-old at least.
Exactly. So he pours out some samples for us, a couple of, a little bit in the Glencairn glass, just enough to taste and appreciate. Sure. And, when you have scotch that's like that, you're like, I just don't want to touch it yet. I want to just sort of leave it there and look at it for a minute. Yeah. It's like, look at it, sniff it every so often and swirl it, do all that stuff. And then finally, I took a sip. Okay. And it's wonderful. It tastes like $5,000 scotch. It's amazing.
It tastes smoother than
smooth. You take regular smooth and smooth that out. It was smoother than that. And then the second sip I took, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, but I was like going to do the aspiration thing, like try to, not aspiration. What's the word? That like, you do that and you do that.
Yep.
It's aspiration, I guess you call it, but I literally aspirated it. So it literally went down the windpipe.
Oh my God.
Let me tell you something.
Not as smooth?
No, you haven't lived until you've had $5,000 scotch in your windpipe.
Oh,
because everything in my body wanted to eject this little sip from it. I was just like choking, and like I couldn't breathe for a good 10 seconds. I mean, I was just, coughing and choking, and I mean, it was pretty amazing because my entire throat and chest just lit up like a small city.
Did you get it down?
I finally did.
Oh my God, how?
It's like when you swallow down the wrong pipe, it takes a minute or so for it to just clear out. This took a little longer than a minute, and I was feeling
like you get in your lungs.
Yeah, seriously. And he was like, "Dude, you okay?" And I was like, "I'm fine." It was like, right. Exactly. I said, "It's fucking awesome." All right, back to the tale, for Christ.
It does taste a little like scotch.
Do you know it does?
Smooth! That dumb little blonde will never know the difference.
Bud starts groping and forcing himself onto Peggy. That's where we come back to this. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so Bud is groping and forcing himself on her. She pushes him away after he's planting his nasty lips all over. She pushes him away, and he says, "I'd fight to the finish." Because he's a fine specimen of human being. He's like a treasure, this guy.
Just a real treat, this one.
There's a great visual here, by the way. She pushes Bud's face away just as the purple spotlights come on the stage, so that we get a glimpse of Bud's ugly fucking face shaded in purple.
That line right there almost had me buy an ale called Purple Haze.
Oh, yes.
Just from that one line.
That's great. That's cool. That would work.
I thought it was a little too obscure.
Yeah, it's all right. Well, I think it would have worked. Yeah. We hear from Len. Len is clamoring for the loopy. He's like, "Bring on the loopy." And at this point, Peggy just wants to run out of there and keep on running. She's having like the beginnings of a panic attack now.
Yeah.
And now the MC comes on stage. Inwardly, Peggy is crying for her mother to take her home. It's actually heartbreaking.
It's awful.
Yeah. The MC is doing like the old hackneyed Hollywood thing of like, those of you with weak constitutions may want to leave now, what they used to do in like William Castle movies and stuff like that.
Yep.
Len yells, "Cut the crap and get off the stage." It's like one time Len is actually cool.
Yeah.
So Matheson tells us that post-war law allows for the LUP performance, but only if there's a disclaimer that it's only for purposes of scientific study. But he says that this little provision of the law is allowed for so much abuse of it that no one really cares anymore. It's post-World War III, the government's pretty enfeebled. They're not really concerned with arresting people for breaking that law.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That this is something they study, this wild thing that's about to happen.
Yeah, when you finally realize what it is that they're talking about.
Yeah.
So Peggy's pretty much shitting herself right now with panic. Mm-hmm. And now the MC finally gets to it. He announces, "Ladies and gentlemen, brace yourselves. The LU phenomenon." Phenomenon is capitalized as the P in LUP. So the LU phenomenon. Mm-hmm. So the music begins, and because Matheson's description is so good, I have to quote it outright.
Yeah.
Okay.
Music began, a moaning brassiness all muted, a jazzman's conception of the palpable obscure, mounted on a pulse of thumping drum, a dolor of saxophone, a menace of trombone, a harnessed bleating of trumpet. They raped the air with stridor.
He's talking about Coltrane.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Yeah. 1997 music,
Yeah, right, yeah.
Wouldn't that have been awesome if that was actual 1997? We got that in 1997. And when you think about it, the music probably stagnated. Let's say this universe actually came to fruition. I mean, the World War III probably would have been in like 1993 or so. Mm-hmm. So we would have had like 1993 music in 1997. That would be what we're listening to here.
So that's when we recorded our CD.
Oh, okay. There you go. We would have had some Hinge playing.
We had some Hinge going.
Yeah. Yeah, go on.
We never raped the air, though, with Strider or without.
Yeah.
Never.
No, right.
That I recall.
No, not that you recall. Listen, some North Dakotan hillbillies may beg to differ.
Those old miners got a different opinion.
Right. Okay, so the music begins, and there's a wonderful prolonging of the moment as we're in Peggy's head. She's dreading this and she just wants out of there. All the while, she's absent-mindedly just sipping from her drink, okay? And this whole section is pure Matheson. There's no words wasted, not a single word wasted. And he's just in her head. I don't even know for how long it is. It's like 2 or 3 paragraphs. He's just prolonging this moment, and it's wonderful. You know, again, it sounds like, well, but just get on with it. No, it's not. It's you're in her head in the moment. You're just feeling everything she's feeling.
Yeah.
So finally, the curtain swishes open, and Peggy looks up at the stage in horror. Here's the quote. "It had been a woman."
It had been a woman.
We start off with that.
God damn.
Yeah.
That's a lot to just kind of continue after that, because you read that and you're like, oh no. What a line. It's mad.
Just to start with that, and it's its own separate line. Then the paragraph starts right after. There's a paragraph break. So it had been a woman is the first thing and the only thing on that line. It's great.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, it hit me hard. I was like, oh no.
Ellison wrote a story, The Function of Dream Sleep, and he goes to like this like mad scientist castle or something. It's very like old school universal horror, and like he knocks on the door and he says the door was opened by a ruined thing.
Oh,
yeah.
Also good.
And it turns out it was a woman who had been burned all over her face. It was all messed up. Yeah, very, very effective. Yes.
Yeah,
that one line, it had been a woman.
You want to be as effective as he was opening the door and being jarred.
Right. Or the way Peggy was when she finally looked up and saw what was there on stage. It had been a woman.
Oh, really good.
He goes on to describe it.
Her hair was black, a framing of snarled ebony for the tallow mask that was her face. Her shadow-rimmed eyes were closed behind lids as smooth and white as ivory. Her mouth, a lipless and unmoving line, stood like a clotted sword wound beneath her nose. Her throat, her shoulders, and her arms were white. At her sides, protruding from the sleeve ends of the green transparency she wore, hung alabaster hands.
Pretty cool. Pretty
really
awesome.
Amazing. It's such good writing. It's mad.
Yeah, he should do this for a living.
He should.
Yeah.
Someone should tell him.
And right here, Peggy hears Len mutter, "I love my wife, but oh, you corpse." That's a real Stephen King line.
That is, yeah. It reads like that.
Yeah, you'd make a character say that. For a while, nothing's really happening on stage. The thing she's watching, this thing that had once been a woman, is just standing there motionless. And then the music begins to swell, and it's getting more intense. The drums are pounding away in, quote, a rising panic, end quote. And suddenly, the loopy, because that's what this thing is, the loopy's eyelid twitches. And then its right arm jerks away from its side and comes back. And then the left arm does the same. And it continues like this. The muscles are all spasming and convulsing, and eventually the music finds the rhythm and matches it.
Wow.
Finds the rhythm of this jerking and twitching and matches it. Okay, so it's obviously a live band here.
Yeah.
It begins to convulse so violently that it's basically flinging itself around the stage now. Okay, and Peggy's bracing herself because it looks like she's just going to come flying over the railing. Now, here's our customary admonishment to the listeners. We can't do the scene any justice. Please read it.
Yeah, right.
Because he's describing this loopy's dance, and the suspense is amazing.
Yeah.
We're right in Peggy's head watching this, and like, it's so horrific.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's all carried on word choices and pacing. So the loopy is convulsing so much that it suddenly slams into the rail surrounding the stage, and it does so repeatedly. Until finally the rail gives and the thing falls forward. And Matheson describes it as, quote, a clawing fall. The loopy hits the table and is jerking around it like a flounder. And in all this jerking and flailing, one of its hands slaps across Peggy's mouth.
Ugh.
It's like something out of Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
She locks eyes with the thing in the purple light. And it's like black dead eyes. And right there, Peggy promptly passes the fuck out.
Yeah.
As you would, right?
Yeah.
She swooned.
We got a swooner.
We got a swooner. So when she awakens, somebody's pouring booze down her throat from a flask.
Nice. What the fuck?
They ask her if she's all right. She says yes. And she kind of is. She's a mess, but she's numb and subdued, and she's feeling okay. She looks around and discovers they're in the car, and it's parked on a hilltop. Bud tells her they're a few miles outside of school. Mm-hmm. And then Bud asks, how do you feel? And she says, Wonderful. And we find out why. She's feeling around an itchy spot on her arm and notices a little bump there. So they've obviously drugged her up. Okay. They gave her the old muscle tussle there.
Nice. Real nice.
Yeah, so they're passing the flask around and talking about the events of the evening. They all agree it was a great show. And Bud says, L-U-P, son of a gun. And now we've got Matheson's final dictionary definition. L-U-P, that stands for lifeless undead phenomenon. This freak of physiological abnormality was discovered during the war when, following certain germ gas attacks, many of the dead troops were found erect and performing the spasmodic gyrations which later became known as the Luppies dance, L-U-P's dance. The particular germ spray responsible was later distilled and is now used in carefully controlled experiments which are conducted only under the strictest of legal license and supervision. End quote.
Not real.
You're right. They drive on and they're singing, and Peggy's now joining in with the singing because she feels amazing.
Peggy leaned against her date and felt no need to curb exploring hands. Somewhere, deep within the jellied layers of her mind, there was something trying to escape. It fluttered like a frantic moth imprisoned in congealing wax, struggling wildly but only growing weaker in attempt as the chrysalis hardened.
That ending's so rough because the line only growing weaker in the attempt as the chrysalis hardened.
Yeah.
And that's her innocence.
Yes.
And that's fucking terrible.
It is. And that's why I would say this is horror for sure.
That's absolute horror.
Jerking out of innocence like that. Yeah.
Especially, for whatever reason, a young girl makes it worse.
Yes.
Than if it was a young guy.
I agree. It does.
It's just awful.
It is. And, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's why this works. I mean, at the end, you're just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Damn it.
And yeah, because she's like had her innocence taken away, and now she's like part of it now. She's like, all right.
Now she's like as gross as they are.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah. It's like the way death is a necessary thing in life. People are going to die, and it sucks. And sooner or later, you have to come to terms with it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as that sooner or later, you're going to have to come to terms with the fact that you're not a child anymore.
Yeah.
Or that somebody that you're caring about is not a child anymore. And they've now been exposed to the coarseness of the world and how awful everything actually fucking is.
Yeah.
Yep. So here's the final line.
The singing ended, but the song went on. A young girl sighed. Isn't it romantic? Said Olive Oil.
Isn't it romantic? Said Olive Oil. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a brilliant way to do it.
Yeah. It's great.
She turned into her finally if she didn't want to.
Yeah. So good stuff. Good old Matheson.
Attaboy. That was a good one.
Yeah. You read his other stories, there's a lot of others I could have chosen for this. Of course, Born of Man and Woman is a great story. There's another one called Dress of White Silk. He approaches the stories in a similar fashion. They're both narrated by what appear to be children. So he's misspelling things and stuff like that. And in Dress of White Silk, it's a little girl narrating, and she's, messing up words and phrases and stuff like that. So they're very effective like that. They're very hard to blurb, though. So or synopsize, I should say, when we're doing this. A lot of Matheson's stories are like that. They're kind of just like, okay, a singular thing is going on in the story, and this person is coping with it and trying different ways to surmount the obstacles, Yep. The obstacle is usually just one, in his short stories. He's got a short story called Duel that was made into a movie. Steven Spielberg's first movie, actually.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
He wrote that?
He wrote that. I don't know if he wrote the screenplay. I know he definitely wrote the story, the short story.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because that's what made Spielberg, I think.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
I think that's the one where everyone went, oh, shit. I mean, he did, what's the other one?
The Sugarland Express.
Yes, that's it.
Right.
Which is great, it's whatever. But not like Duel.
Yeah, Duel's cool.
That was an editing masterpiece, cinematic masterpiece. It was all of that.
And I stand corrected. I think Sugarland Express was his first, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That one was good, but Duel was the stuff.
That story is just one guy stuck behind a truck, and he's being menaced by this.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And that's the whole story. And so, it's hard to synopsize that. You just sort of say, okay, so he's trying to get around the truck. He's trying again, but his prose is so beautiful and his suspense and stuff like that is so great. You're just with these guys the whole way, like feeling it right along with the main character. It's great.
Yeah, so good.
So
I wonder if Stephen King was inspired by that for Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, he must have been, because he was a giant Richard Matheson fan. I know that.
Yeah, it must have been that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure he tipped his hat to him for that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he had to have at some point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Maximum Overdrive. That was a terrible movie.
It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. It was, I remember when it was coming out, there were commercials and he was really promoting it.
Yeah.
With these weird under your face lights.
Right.
He said, "My name is Stephen King.
Yeah.
And I'm going to scare the hell out of you."
I'm going to scare the hell out of you.
Yeah, it was like, what? When I was a kid, I'm like, what is this?
I don't remember that.
And I didn't see it till I was older, but
yeah,
I remember the commercials going, holy shit. Look at that.
Yeah. I think he was still...
I'm going to scare the hell. How does he... Can you do Stephen King? I can't do it.
I threw Carrie in the garbage.
Oh, that is good. In the garbage.
My wife,
the garbage part was good.
Right.
Tabby fished it out.
Oh, that's good.
He said he was around that time he would sit in the bathtub, like pre-Carrie. He'd sit in the bathtub and he'd have the Red Sox game on a little transistor radio, and he'd be drinking a Budweiser and have a cigarette, and he'd be flicking the ashes into the toilet. And he goes, "That is redneck heaven."
Oh, that's really impressive impersonation, dude.
Thank you.
It's really good. I can see him when you do it.
I saw a really nasty, mean-spirited criticism of his later works, and it's actually really funny. It was the meme of Steve Buscemi.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
This meme I saw was like Stephen King writing like millennial dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is some bomb-ass Wi-Fi.
Yeah, the beep beep thing.
Right.
It's like, stop saying beep beep. I can't. Not again.
That's right.
Stop it.
Beep beep Richie.
Yeah. But
anyway,
what am I going to say? He's one of the greatest writers of all time.
He's great. He's great.
His isms are pretty rough. So that's pretty valid in my opinion.
Yeah. Right.
Nothing pulls me out of a Stephen King story faster than Stephen King.
That's a great way of putting it. True. So that was good. So your zombie dust held up.
Really good. Yeah, I'm impressed. It's from, I don't think I said where it was from, though. It is Munster, Indiana. I didn't know there was such a place.
I heard of Muncie, Indiana, but not
Munster.
Interesting. Is it Moonster or Munster as in Herman Munster?
It's spelled Munster.
Oh, okay. Cool.
It's good beer, though, yeah. Ugly can, great beer.
Okay.
God, I shouldn't have said that either.
No, it's all right. That's okay.
I forget people might be listening to this.
Well,
I'm not
listen,
just talking to myself anymore.
We said this before. You just got to do better. I mean, come on, guys.
No, look. The fact is, the drawing on it is good.
Yeah.
The font, I can't stand fonts like this. They
Right.
look
I
like,
know.
Someone took a 4-inch paintbrush and wrote something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a cop-out font.
I hate it. I hate it. I get what they're doing, but like a drippy, messy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why don't you just have blood dripping off of it?
Yeah. But then there's this cool Skeletor-looking guy on the front.
Okay.
And I'm hoping, I can't tell, he might have like bottle openers and shit on his crown. And that would upset me greatly. That'd be too close to the logo.
No, that's right.
I don't know if that's what it's too vague. I can't tell, but
yeah.
It's a cool drawing.
That's cool. All right.
That part's cool. It's very comic book like they said.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it was good. And yours?
Well, it was wonderful. And I still have some left here. This is because it was 8.2, so I'm trying to nurse it a little bit. But the brewery's called False Hope. And this was
That's so good.
The beer was Negative Outlook.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, this is what you have when you're done with Dance of the Dead. You're like, oh man.
Yeah. What's the next story we're going to do?
The next story is Graveyard Shift by a little-known writer. And
not the one I just shit all over.
It's the one we both just shit over. It's Graveyard Shift by Stephen King.
Oh my God. I've heard of him. He's really good is what I hear. I hear he's fantastic.
He's up and coming, actually, is what I heard.
Yeah. Heard he's really young and gritty and full of ambition.
And beer. He was full of Budweiser and ambition.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Yep. This is exactly it. This is before, I believe it was pre-Carrie. So he hadn't yet made himself into a household name. So that's going to be a fun one. So
wait, which one?
Graveyard Shift. So that was...
Graveyard Shift, yeah.
Yeah, it's in Night Shift along with Gray Matter.
Long time since I read it.
A long time for me, too.
So that's good.
A lot of good stories out of that book. So anyway. So they
excellent. I'm excited about it.
Me too.
I love Stephen King. He's my favorite.
Yes, indeed.
I'm going to have to edit quite a bit of this shit out.
Exactly.
Yes. Great story, Paul.
Yes, indeed. All right, my man. Be good, and we'll talk to you soon enough, buddy.
All right, I'll see you.
See ya.